Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna talk about another variation of the Traptrix deck that you can play. This one is a bit more of a combo focus build. I'm not gonna really talk about the deck profile too much, but I'll talk about the cards that you're gonna need for this sort of combo line, and variations you can do with it, and things you can bring out, and how you can play the deck rather than the typical Traptrix deck where it's all Traptrix monsters. So this one's got a bit of a mini engine with the plants, the Therion stuff, and it's kind of fun to do. It's for me personally, it's not the favorite version of the deck. I know some people like this version. In case you haven't seen it, or you don't really know about it, or you want to see how it works, I'll show you the cards, explain how it's done, and then show you some of the boss monsters I want to say that you can go into. All right, well, let's first talk about the deck profile, right? So the deck, for the most part, hasn't really changed. You can just take take out a couple dead cards, couple cards you don't really need, and we're gonna essentially put in 4 cards. 3 of them are mandatory, 1 of them is optional, but if you're gonna play it, you might as well play it. So let's first talk about the 3 mandatory cards, right? So many of you know it's gonna be the Therion engine. It's just a 3-card engine, really simple, yet powerful enough that it can protect us from a lot of things. Namely, if you hate evenly matched, this combo line or this package will sort of protect you against evenly match somewhat. Now, it's not a foolproof plan, but it's better than nothing. But obviously, the issue is you're playing 3 cards, and if you draw them out of order, they can become bricks. They can sometimes screw things up. So, take it as you will. It's not a foolproof plan, but it is an option, and it can be very powerful. To kind of pair up with this to make it even more consistent, you can also play Mardell, the plant boss monster, I guess, or plant engine, part of the plant engine. She gives you some pretty strong plays in terms of linking. You're going to be able to link climb with this deck better than the regular version of Traptrix, because she acts as both an extender and a searcher, and sort of a body. So she makes this Therion line play a little bit better, for sure. But now you're playing 4 cards, and if you draw any of these cards, they're kind of bad. They will break your hand, and you can do absolutely nothing with it. I can't recall any time if you draw Mardell, you could do anything with her. You can't even discard her for any sort of particular cost. So those are some of the risks that you're going to be running into when playing this particular version of the deck. But it does have some neat combo lines. It does have some powerful plays. And let's go ahead and take a look at the extra deck then, because the rest of the deck doesn't really matter too much. The rest of the deck you can build it however you want. But this is just kind of a cookie cutter layout for the deck at the moment. But also, this version of the deck, I don't believe you can really run Pot of Prosperity that much or as well. Namely because the extra deck is going to be super tight. This is just a sample extra deck. You can build it however you want. I just added all the cards in here just to show you what you can do with it. But let's talk about some of the important pieces of the extra deck here. So the main addition to the extra deck that you're basically gonna go into all the time, the main combo starter is gonna be this card right here. It's gonna be the Aroma Therapy Jasmine, if I'm saying that correctly. But she's basically sort of like a Sorceress Priestess, if you remember what that card is. So she summons out any plant monster that you need from your deck, and then that's how you kind of get the combo started. But you do need 2 plants to get her out, which in this particular deck is actually fairly easy. Now, if you look at your main deck, you really only have 2 plant monsters, right? If you just look at straight up typing, you have Pudica as a plant monster, and you have Diania as a plant monster, and then everything else is an insect. But actually, you have more than that, because you also have Hotia, which is also a plant monster. And the one card that you always bring out every single time, Sarah, is also a plant monster. Those are your main access, your main ways to get at least 2 plant monsters to access Jasmine over here. Obviously, you have Pinkula here and Rafflesia and all of them, but you don't use any of them for the combo. Ignore them. Them being a plant doesn't really help us here. So yeah, you're gonna go into Jasmine, and that's how you basically start off your combo. And then you have a couple of selection of your boss monsters, because like I said, this deck link climbs pretty well, and so you will end up typically with a excess amount of bodies that you can't use for your link 4 plays, like obviously the Mardell here and Lily, which are level 8s. There's nothing you can really do with them. You could play some level 8 exceeds in some sense if you wanted to. I don't typically think that's worth the space, honestly. I'd rather go into one of the link boss monsters than run a level 8 exceeds, which you could. In theory, you can. I just don't think it's really worth it, honestly. Plus, if you do go into a rank 8 exceed, part of the combo requires Lily to be in the graveyard. If you don't have Lily in the graveyard, then you're not gonna be able to get out Regulus, and it kind of makes this whole combo moot. Unless you have something, unless you can go into like a vampire lord or something, where you can detach Lily and then extend a little bit. But you need Lily in the graveyard, because otherwise, this you can't get out Regulus any other way, I don't think. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the boss monster I selected here. So you have a couple of choices. The first most obvious choice is you're gonna have a ton of bodies on the board, so you can typically go into Alpaloosa if you like. She's fairly easy to get out. Two ways to go Alpaloosa. You can either typically make her 2400 to 3200 attack power, or if you want to make her a little bit more resilient, you can go into IP Masquerena and then go into her during your opponent's turn, giving her a little bit of protection from destruction, but you're going to make her a little bit weaker, probably by one less body. So that is an option. Or you can straight up go into this guy. This guy, he only really needs 3 plant bodies. But if you go into him, he's really good disruption, typically for free. And he's really just hard to get rid of, hard to deal with sometimes. He's a bit on the weaker side. Only 2,500 attack points is pretty weak, but his bouncing ability is just fantastic. It gets rid of it gets rid of your opponent's starters and stuff like that. So if you don't want to wait to use this effect until they bring like a big boss monster, you can just get rid of their starters, and if they don't have their starters, then obviously they won't be able to either link climb or exceed into their boss monster. So he's really good for that. He's also got a bit of a recursion, so when he's in the graveyard, you can banish exactly a combination of cards up to a link rating of 4, and then summon him out again once per duel, I think. But yeah, he's just really annoying, really fairly decent card, fairly decent boss monster to go into. But you can't make him with IP Masquerena, unfortunately. You have to kind of just straight up use a bunch of plant monsters to do that. Alright, and then final boss monster I think that's potentially worth running is Avermax. Because you can typically go into Avermax pretty easy. If you go Avermax with IP Masquerena, then your opponent's going to just have a super tough time outing this guy. The only real way to out him, and potentially any of your boss monsters, is to use a Kaiju, Lava Golem, or a Raw Spear mode. Or maybe I guess Super Polarization or something like that. Otherwise, they're typically pretty hard to out with. You can also go into Underworld Goddess if you like. If I can find her. Yeah, you can go into Underworld Goddess. Is it Underworld Goddess? I totally... There you go. So she's another decent boss monster to go into. I'm just gonna take out that. So yeah, you can also link climb into Underworld Goddess. Although if you're going first, she's probably not that great. Granted, if you have IP Masquerena on the board, and you can potentially go into Underworld Goddess on your opponent's turn, which is kind of nice. So yeah, so I would say these are like your 4 boss monsters that you'd probably want to go into using this particular combo line. All right, so I'm going to show you two different ways to do the combo line, or at least not two different ways, but two ways to sort of end up with either like a Avermax under IP, or just end up with this Ben Lancier guy. So, yeah. Also, why we're playing the Therion engine, I forgot to sort of mention why we're even doing this in the first place. The Therion engine guy, he's great because he protects you from our worst enemy, which is evenly match, right? Very few cards in our deck can stop evenly match, at least in the main board. You know, if you're playing my version where I'm playing the Designator Crossout, then okay, you have an opportunity to stop evenly match. But if you're game one, typically if they rip an evenly match on you, you just scoop, go game two. Granted, you can win, you can still win under evenly match. It just becomes a lot harder. Obviously, when you go into your side deck, you have Lancias, Solemn Judgments, whatever you want to kind of stop the evenly match. Just game one, it's a little rough. But the cool thing is Regulus can give us a bit of that protection from evenly match, from Lightning Storm, and basically anything that just blows up our board or tries to break it. Obviously, still the same weaknesses as the rest of the boss monsters, that he can be tributed off of like a kaiju. Then you're kind of back to square one. But that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and jump into the combo lines, and then yeah, we'll just go from there, I guess. All right, I'm gonna show you a couple test hands. Let's just go ahead and see. All right, so this test hand's okay. It's not the best, but you really only need like one or two cards. Honestly, if you had the whatchamacallit, we're gonna ignore most of the cards in our hand anyways. If you had sorry, I'm losing my words. If you had a Traptrix Garden or Traptrix Orchard, then this would be a lot better. But for now, we're just gonna go ahead and show it sort of the typical way, right? So we're gonna do like our usual thing. Not gonna really explain too much what's going on, but what you do want to keep in mind here, and this is sort of important, you want to summon your plant monsters in either this zone or this zone, wherever you bring out your Jasmine, because Jasmine points to the left and to the right, and so for her ability to work, she needs to be able to tribute something that she's pointing to. So you want to make sure you summon your monsters in either the center or the furthest left or the furthest right if you're putting Jasmine in one of these other zones. So for now, I'm just gonna put Hote here. We're going to activate Jasmine. We're gonna ignore everything else here. We're gonna grab probably Dianea here. Summon out Dianea. Activate Dianea's effect. Target that. Doesn't really matter too much. So we have a Bombless, and then we're gonna activate Sarah. We're gonna set another trap. Doesn't matter which one. All right. So that's sort of like the basic combo, right? So right now we're actually up on cards, as you can kind of see. We start with 5 cards, and now we have quite a few. How many is this? I can't count right now. There's like 7. So we're up a card or so. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and link away our monsters. So we're gonna go into Jasmine over here. Now, unfortunately, you do have to use Sarah. There's no real way to get around this. That's the only thing I don't like about this particular combo line, is that you have to get rid of Sarah. Granted, if you have Hote in the graveyard, you can bring back Sarah during your opponent's turn, which is great. But otherwise, you are losing out on Sarah doing this combo line. Alright, so now you're going to go ahead and activate Jasmine's effect. We're going to tribute the Dianea. We're going to say no to this because it keeps asking us that. And then we're going to bring out this right here. We're going to need to bring out Mardell. And once Mardell is summoned, we're going to activate her effect. She's going to search for a plant monster. And typically we're going to search for Lily here. Great, right? So far, so good. So now we're going to activate Lily. We're going to try to equip her with the plant. So make sure you guys have some sort of plant monster in the graveyard. If you don't have a plant monster in the graveyard, none of this works. Doesn't matter which one you equip. I'm just going to go ahead and pick that Dianea. I'm going to summon out Lily. Equip her with Dianea. Then you're going to activate Lily's effect. You're going to send the Dianea from the spell zone because it's not useful anymore. And then we're gonna search for the Therion field spell. All right, now we have Therion field spell. We're gonna go ahead and activate good old field spell. We're gonna say no to the Ash Blossoms. We're gonna go ahead and add Regulus. All right, so here's where it diverges. Your combo line diverges. Obviously, right, with this board, right, we can overlay for. Actually, we can't even overlay. I thought this is a level 8. Okay, well, scratch that. Don't do this. Don't play any rank 8s. So I thought she was a level 8 for the entire time. So it doesn't matter. All right, so ignore the whole rank 8 spiel I did earlier. Well, you still can because Regulus is rank 8 and whatnot, but whatever, you know. Anyways, so let's go ahead and look at our extra deck, right? So we have a couple of things we can summon. We can either summon an Alpaloosa, right? That's great. Alpaloosa of 3 materials. We'll have, you know, a 2400 Alpaloosa. We can summon the Ben Lancier guy here. That'll give us one interruption for free, just at a cost of our life points. Or we can link these two away to go into IP Masquerena and potentially go into Avermax during our opponent's main phase. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna go ahead and go into the Ben Lancia guy here. So we're gonna basically have to use our whole entire board, and then gonna summon him out, and then we get to use Regulus. I'm gonna equip the Lily from the graveyard, and then there we go. So that is in essence the purest way to kind of do the combination, right? So now we have 2 disruption, we have Regulus, and we have Ben Lancier, and then obviously we got some, you know, trap holes down here. We have whatever we have in our hand. If you just want to look at the cards we have on the board, we have a total of 9 cards technically. We also have a Hotea in the graveyard to also bring back Sarah if you wanted to during your opponent's turn. So yeah, those are some. This is just one path, right, to sort of get the you know, two boss monsters on the board essentially. And so let's take a look at another hand. So yeah, you don't want to draw her, like she's bad. Like this, like look at this hand. We can still do some usual stuff, but her being in our hand just makes it sort of dead. So what I'm gonna try to do here is find a hand where I have Traptrix Garden. Alright, well this is good enough, right? Okay, so let's try this. Okay, so we're gonna notice some on Pudica. Let's go ahead and activate Pudica. Grab this, right? It's pretty good. Let's go and summon out Sarah. I'm gonna activate this. Initially normal Sarah. Get Pudica. And I guess we can even set a trap hole if we wanted to, right? You want to use Sarah's effect to its maximum effectiveness, so you want to start like just being able to get as many bodies on the board. Obviously this play is very weak to Nibiru, so I'd be careful with this particular play. Now obviously I can't summon out Dionea to bring this back, but if I didn't have Dionea, then I can obviously get that back. So for now, guess it doesn't really matter which one we bring out. Let's just go ahead and bring out another Mantis here. Alright, cool. So yeah, we could still go into the same play we did earlier. Let's go ahead and go into the Jasmine. And then just use Jasmine's effects. Send this to the graveyard. Go ahead and grab her. Activate Mardell's effects. Grab the Lily. Activate Lily. I'm gonna just equip that, sure. And we unfortunately have to get rid of this or garden, so that's why you might want to play 2 gardens in this particular this particular build. But yeah, so here, we're gonna go into a Masquerena by using these two because they don't really do anything else anymore. And then here we just set a bunch of cards. You can go in Time Thief Redoer, you can go into Rafflesia. Doesn't particularly matter too much. And then we can go into Regulus here. Get the Lily. Summon Regulus. Put Lily somewhere. Doesn't matter too much. And there you go. So we have, in essence, if we didn't have Diane on the board, we could have grabbed, a trap hole back from the graveyard. Doesn't really matter too much. It's kind of nice to just have it in the graveyard anyways. So you can use it with Sarah. But yeah, so for now, let's say we pass our turn, right? So we have a total of 2 negations and potentially a Avermax right here. So we're gonna go end phase. Our opponent's gonna go. Let's say they do whatever, right? And they pass priority. They attempt to pass priority to us to go in the battle phase. We can activate Altea. Grab this back out. They decide, do nothing to go in the battle phase. They try to go battle phase again. You can activate her, and then now you can bring out a good old Avermax. So there you go. Now we have Avermax on the board that's protected with the IP Masquerena destruction effect. So yeah, as you can kind of see, we have a fairly strong board, right? We have still negations, interruption, our traps. So we get, if we activate, either Rafflesia, we activate Impermanence. You can then use Sarah to set another trap card, summon out another body, and basically go from there. We're somewhat protected against evenly match, so that's kind of nice. Now let's talk about some of the inherent weaknesses of this particular combo line / deck, right? So the main inherent weaknesses is honestly the Jasmine, right? So why is she weak? Is because if your opponent knows you're going for this particular play, most of the time they can't really stop the Jasmine because they'll probably burn their Ash Blossom. They'll probably burn Impermanence on your normal summon, on Sarah. They'll burn it all on that. So typically, if you go for Jasmine play, it's usually fine. Granted, you're still gonna walk into a Nibiru if you're not careful. Obviously, you might walk into like I don't know, not Dogwood, one of the Bell Girls maybe, perhaps. But that's neither here or there. But yeah, if they somehow stop your Jasmine play, you're basically be stuck on just a Jasmine and some pretty weak monsters on the board, and you might not even have a way to get Sarah back. So that is sort of like the main weakness of the deck. Is just if they stop the Jasmine play, you're kind of locked out in some sense. Or if not, you draw some of the engine pieces. Like I mentioned before, there's a potential to draw the field spell. There's potential to draw Regulus or Lily. Worst of all, the worst offender is drawing Mardale. Drawing her means you can't do anything with her. Not that I can think of on top of my head. She's a level 9. I thought she was level 8 earlier, but yeah, she's a level 9, so she can't really even do anything. At best, you can try to. I'm not sure. This has to summon from deck, yeah. So she can't even summon her off of Jasmine because there are a couple like cards that be able to summon from hand or deck. Like if you had Traptrix Orchard, this summons from hand or deck, which is nice. Obviously, if this can summon any plant from hand, that'd be perfect. She wouldn't be so dead. But yeah, the only other way is to essentially tribute summon her, and that feels kind of bad. So I wouldn't do that either. But yeah, so this is kind of like the nice combo play. You do have to sacrifice a little bit of consistency in terms of the rest of your Traptrix. You're gonna sacrifice a bit of frustration from drawing the pieces. You're gonna sacrifice a bit of board presence. If they interrupt you, you're gonna end up with a lot weaker board. But if all things go well, you can end up with a board like this where it's very tough for the opponent to crack. They need like Dark Rule no more. They need the Kaijus, all the other jazz. Maybe they need droplets. So they need quite a few things to be able to crack your board for sure. It's a very strong play going first. Going second, I don't think this play would be very good because you're most likely gonna have to fight uphill anyways against their interruption. So that's the other like main weakness of the Therion package is if you go second, it's a lot weaker. You're gonna, if you draw any of these guys going second, and you're just gonna hate yourself. So just do be fair, fully aware that that is gonna be a sacrifice, an issue that you're gonna have to deal with if you do go ahead and play this package. But like I said, overall, it's a cool package to have, right? Yeah, 4 to 3 cards, pretty decent. You can make whatever link monsters you climb or link climb pretty easily. You can go access code if you've wanted to. Granted, access code going first doesn't really do too much, but if you throw an access code going second, and they don't interrupt you, you can easily crack some boards. And if they play like D barrier, this deck's not really weak to D barrier because you don't even really go into your exceeds all that much. You end up just going to like maybe a Rafflesia, maybe I don't know, Time Thief Redoer, and that's about it. The rest of your extra deck is actually just mostly link monsters, so you end up link climbing a lot more rather than going to like 3 or 4 different link exceed monsters. Excuse me. But yeah, so there you go. That's basically the deck profile, or at least how the deck works. And my opinion is I still like the original build I'm having, or at least the more pure Traptrix build that I'm playing with. That seems to be more consistent. It gives me less frustrating hands than something like this would. I feel like, me personally, just drawing some of these one-ofs would just frustrate me a little bit more, especially if we don't really have any other ways to unbrick ourselves. We're not really running Pot of Prosperity, just because I think our extra deck space is gonna be just a little too tight for that. We don't really have the ability to really get rid of a lot of these cards, because a lot of these cards, they're one-ofs and they're kind of core to the strategy. So if you do play pot, you might end up just banishing like 3 rather than the full 6. And so yeah, there's just kind of a different sort of consistency issue if you do play with this particular engine. But it is a fun engine to play with. I've yet to test it out in real life, but I've heard people have liked it, and they play it and they had some decent success with it. Just my play style, I'm not so keen on adding this combo while just trying to do the normal Traptrix stuff. I'd rather just set a couple cards and sit on Sarah rather than try to go for this combo and maybe getting punished for it. But anyways, it's still a very good thing to know. It's still a very different idea, and they're just another way to build a deck. So I think it's still worth knowing this combo line and knowing its existence and what purpose it serves. With the new plant stuff that's coming out, we might get a little bit more cards to play with if you want to play more heavily into the plant engine. I know OCG got recently a ban list. They, I think, unbanned Global Bulb, so that'd be interesting. Granted, I don't think you do synchro plays in this particular deck, but Global Bulb is still a plant monster, so you can still use it as link material to climb up to some of these other boss monsters. But that's we'll have to see, right? So for now, there are some interesting prospects coming in the future, but we'll have to see. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoy it. Hope this was informative, and hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Let me know. I'm always happy to sort of discuss these ideas with you guys. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time.